Good morning, sisters, from very early in the morning over here. And I woke with clear guidance after asking for it last night before I went to bed, with clear guidance to share this video with you, to make a video to share to tie together some threads that I've observed of late uh, that I feel speak to the energies we want to hold ourselves in right now, regardless of what we may be moving through on a personal level. So it's sort of one of those big picture um, messages that I bring through from time to time about, the bigger scope of what's going on planetarily, uh, through examples of some different things I've observed and how that comes back for us to support our sisters and brothers of Earth and support our own ascension process. So that's what this video is about. And I'm going to take a moment now just to breathe. I invite you to breathe with me. Excuse me, it's very early in the morning. I just woke up. To breathe with me and connect in, and then we'll begin. So if it's safe to do so, you can close your eyes, but even if it's not, just either way, take a moment to connect with the breath and the heart, opening into the heart space as you inhale, to come to present moment awareness of the breath and the heart, the field of the heart, the energetic field of the heart. And as you exhale, allow yourself to release all the other thoughts, distractions, busyness of the day, giving yourself permission to be present for a few moments in this now moment with me and with all those who will watch this in their own now moments. Breathing in, opening into the field to become connected and aware through time and space, knowing that all time and space is now. Being in connection as we exhale to settle into the body, settle into our awareness. And again, breathing in, exhaling to feel safe in the body, safe in this now moment as you open your eyes. Thank you. Okay. So there are, I think, three basic threads I'm going to weave together here that may seem disparate or worldly or disconnected at first. So I'm going to explain them, and then we'll tie them in together. So the first is a video that was passed to me by a friend through a private Facebook message yesterday. And unfortunately, I have not yet figured out any way to download that or share that link unless I can forward it on Facebook. And it's really unfortunate. If I come across it, I will add it here. That was the impetus for this video. It was actually a very short TikTok video, like a minute. I guess they're all short. I don't know. Like a minute and something. And it was a woman who was very clearly articulating um, the what speaking to the globalists who control things on this planet, that your game's not fooling us, it's not working, we're not going to play them. It was a little bit snarky but very strong, and I really debated, I want to share this with my community, but why? And is the energy aligned with what I would call the priestess energy, or is it kind of down in the battlefield kind of thing? And I kept getting the nudge throughout the day yesterday. This friend shared it with me yesterday morning, to share it. And I'm like, okay, what is this about? Because the snarkiness is a little bit like off energy for what I feel is the highest frequency we could be in. Um, and for some of the sisters that may listen to my channel or be in our community, our private community, they may feel it's a little off-putting in some ways, like, oh, focusing on, the deep state and all that stuff again, and, the jabs and everything. And but it's not just focusing on that. But the reason why, so I'm like, why is this? And the reason is because the energy she is carrying, I feel, is a model in a very warrior kind of way. Maybe not a warrior priestess kind of way. The energy of full clarity, not playing the game, not buying into it. None of your messaging is going to work for us. We're moving on. We're not engaged. We're moving on to create the reality we want to create. Like there was no question in her energy field at all. There was no like, oh, what's going to happen in the future? Oh, they're destroying our future. Oh my God, they're messing up the kids. Oh my God, people are getting sick from the jabs. None of that. It's like, we're not playing it. Thank you. Not, thank you. No. Moving on now. Just letting you know it's not working. So you can stop trying because we are literally creating our own reality. And that energy, if I could find a way to maybe splice this into this video, I'm not sure how to do it, but if I can find a way, I'm going to do that because I feel it is so powerful and it's so short that it's worth tuning into the conviction and the clarity and the alignment that this sister has in her messaging, regardless of whether you feel aligned with a little bit her, let's say, attitude that and her wordsmithery, which has a little bit of, I wouldn't say put down, it's a bit sarcastic. I find it funny. I can do that, but I realize that some sisters are a little more sensitive to that edginess. It is very warriorish in that way. But again, attuning to the clarity and the conviction of like, yeah, no, we're here to create what we want, and it doesn't really matter what other globalists say they're going to do. Like, we're doing us, and we're co-creating the reality we want. And that energy, I feel, cannot be underscored that that's the energy we want to walk in the world with now. That's the lesson. To me, it feels like at the spiritual level, that is what we are being, the wake-up call we are being reminded to, that we are the creators. We are the ones who are creating it all. There's only one of us here. What is the energy we want to be in? Being controlled and victimized? There's a lot of precedent for it. Yes, there's a lot of history for the hierarchy of oppression, and you can look at all of it, the witch burnings, the slavery, the suppression of the native peoples in indigenous peoples all over the world, the destruction of the earth. All of that stuff has been going on for thousands of years at different levels because we were in Kali Yuga. We were in an energy on the planet, and we were learning about what it means to create without God and without love. And many of our sisters and brothers of Earth are still in that energy. But the Earth herself is ascending. Gaia Sophia is ascending. And this planet is no longer going to be a space for consciousness to learn about those things at that level. Gaia is ascending, and those of us who want to stay here on this planet through this incarnation and those who will reincarnate in future incarnations will be of a different frequency. And those who are still playing in that energy of discovering what it means to create without God will incarnate in other planetary realms of greater density. So we're on the transition team. We came to facilitate the transition. And I've used this before, and sisters, I tell you, I am telling myself this too. It's not like I've got this always figured out, but when I get these messages, they're coming through me to share with you and for me to learn as well. We can't drive forward looking in the rearview mirror. There are those sisters and brothers of Earth who are fully driving forward. They never have to look in the rearview mirror. Their assignment is create the new Earth. And many children coming onto the planet right now are of a higher frequency to certain parents who are preparing to be parents to them by their own spiritual training. And you may be one of them if you're listening to this. You've up-leveled your own frequency in order to birth a high frequency child who will be fully directed forward. And there are some of us on the planet who are the truthers, who need to bring the truth out, to reveal it to those of us who want to move ahead. And they spend a lot of time, maybe we could say, looking in the rearview mirror, or to use that other analogy I've used recently of being on the walkways in the airports and looking and going, do you see that over there? You see that's going on? They're trying to get on this walkway with us. So there are those who do that. And then there are those of us who we're driving and we look in the rearview mirror to get information to update our communities or tribe. And I feel like that's kind of what I do. is I'm willing to look in the mirrors, the rear view mirrors, and say, oh, okay, this is going on now. So how do we get that? Okay, that information's going on. All right, so what's the energy we want to keep as we drive forward? So this a level of conviction and deep commitment is a potent thing. It's like there's nothing in this woman's energy field, at least as in her little presentation, that suggests she's fearful or in any way mm, still tied into the old energy. She's like, yeah, no, we're moving forward. And there are others, like in the Return of the Priestess series, there are many sisters who carry that energy as well. I always like to think of Imani Mamalushan and what she's doing with the hemp building. It's like they're like a tribe of galloping horses moving forward, and they're building new communities. They're not playing the game anymore. They don't even need to talk about it really. They know what's going on, but it's like, no, we're building what we want to build. And many of us are doing that in our own fields. So that's piece number one that I wanted to say is like, really, we are at the point now where many of us have enough information about the nonsense going on to go, yeah, no, just doing my own energy. So this woman is a role model for that. And if I could find a way to put her in here, to edit her in, I will. But if I can't, I guess that it's not what's important. So that's the first piece. So let's go on to the next piece now. So part number two. This one is kind of a little bit looking in the rearview mirror or looking over the sides of the edges to see what's going on here. So right now, as I record this, I'm in Thailand. And there are a few changes I've noticed here. So I left here in late February 2020 was the last time I was here, just before the world locked down. And so I've come back end of October 2022. And one of the significant things I've noticed that's different is that everyone is using these QR codes to purchase everything. Now, if you've never been to a developing country, you may not know that the whole food thing is a bit different here. People can put a little cart on the side of the street and sell fruit, or in little hole in the wall restaurants, or little buggies that sell grilled chicken and sticky rice, or I mean, they're not restaurants, not just restaurants in the Western world. Yes, there's those too, but there's wet markets that have, just people having stalls selling their fruit or their meats or whatever. So it's very, and you can go and you can buy $1 worth of stuff. Easy, 50 cents worth of stuff, $2 worth of stuff. And so it blows my mind that people are using QR codes to purchase everything. All these little businesses have these little QR codes, and you just scan. I don't do it. They scan. So you're selling oranges. I buy a half kilo of oranges. It's the equivalent of 75 cents. I use the scan to pay you. There's no money exchanged. And it's not the only thing, but it's almost everyone is doing it. And then I found out and I may have mentioned this before, if you're in my community, you may have heard this on a live stream before, but a friend of mine who's here, one of my priestess sister friends, she explained to me, because she was here through this transformation, I think it was, or just after she got back here. The banks did some kind of deal, I think it was with merchants. I can't remember how it worked, or maybe it was people buying, or they did a deal where if you used your scan code for a month, if you used your scan code, they would match. So let's say, and I can't remember if it's the buyers or sellers or both, but it was something like this. If I just paid you 50 cents, I get another 50 cents or 25 cents in my bank account. If you received $2 for something you sold, you'd get another $2 or $1, something like that. The temptation was, the motivation was great to get everyone onto this scan system. And the government is making noises about no cash. So now you see again, I mean, I'm sure the big hotels, restaurants, stores, big box stores, they're all using scan as well. However, the little merchants are too. So there's not nearly as much cash anymore. And this cashless society thing is a thing that we need to be very aware of. And that leads to the next piece I want to share. So now again, let's take a moment and just breathe. So why is this an issue? What's the problem? I mean, the convenience, we know the convenience of debit cards. We know the convenience of credit cards. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a scam, but if you were to pay it off every month, right, there's a convenience. You can build points and, all of that. Anyway, what is the risk here? All we have to do is look to China. And if you don't know what's going on in China, they have a social credit system that if you if you do something that the government doesn't agree with, your QR thing goes red. And if it goes red, they can drag you off to a quarantine camp. So this red thing is now being used for anyone who has been, so they have this zero COVID policy. And so if you are, and they force everyone to be tested at least once a day. So if you don't go to get tested, red. If you are tested and it's positive, red. And then everyone who because they're tracking everything. So your phone is next to somebody else's phone, next in a group at a work setting. Everyone who was exposed to you or works near you, red. And what happens when it's red? You get quarantined, you get locked in. So I may be able to share this video with you. I'll share it like in the link or description box. I've heard rumors, and maybe you've heard rumors too, about things in China. Well, I somehow, again, I feel like it was, divinely brought in for me to see it yesterday early evening. I watched this video of these two guys one's American, one's Brit, who used to live in China, and I don't know the backstory, how they got out, but they're connected with many Chinese people. They speak Chinese, they read, all of that. They speak, I guess, Mandarin. And they're getting short videos from their Chinese friends, and they're showing what's really happening on the ground before the government eliminates it. And it's really true that those people they're basically being locked in concentration camps. They're being locked in wet markets. There was a bunch of people who got locked in a wet market, forced in by police and stuff for days at a time because of this zero COVID policy. And if you do or say something against the government and they find you, if you speak out, you just get red as if you have COVID. But so they've turned whole groups of people who were starting to resist red, and then they get locked in. So what's happening now? The reason why I share this, I mean, it's a beyond the pale dystopia, and so there's two reasons why I'm sharing this too. One is, of course, we are all one. And so when we raise our frequency into the frequency of love, we are putting that into the field for the collective and for our sisters and brothers of Earth who aren't possibly in a place to even begin to think about these things. Like, oh, if I do my inner work, then I can heal enough to be in high frequency. If I do prayer, I can do. They're like at the basic level of navigating. How do I keep my QR code from going red so that I could have a modicum of freedom and not be locked in to a factory with thousands of other workers because some schmo got a red, or because, I'm in a wet market and I'm trapped or barred, literally barred and locked into my apartment building. They're at that level of survival. So being in a high frequency serves us all. It's a loving thing to do for all of humanity. But also the bigger thing, and this video I want to share, I'll share in the thread, is, and you may not want to watch it, but suffice it to say, even the Chinese people now are starting to rise up. There's starting to be a movement among people who would never speak against their governments because of the amount of control. They're starting to rise up en masse all over that gigantic country, unbeknownst necessarily to each other, against the zero COVID policies, against the government itself. And this is unheard of in their culture. So to me, this shows the frequency upgrade. So again, let's refer back to how I started this video, which is that Gaia is ascending. We are being bombarded by lots of plasmic light. I didn't say that before, but I've said it in other videos. We are in the photon belt, so there's higher frequency bombardment through that. There are more and more people waking up holding the conviction of, oh, I'm not playing that hierarchical dominated game anymore. Yeah, you can do that somewhere else. Like those of us who are in more free countries and have done some of our own spiritual inner work, done a lot of healing, we are now in a place where we can literally, like geographical places of freedom and energetic through our own inner work, to literally own sovereignty at at a level that has not been felt in humanity except for a few awakened masters in who knows how long, since the previous age, since the previous yuga. We're starting to get the inklings of how to do that. And so when we look at that, energy is even affecting our sisters and brothers in a country as suppressive as probably North Korea. I don't know, because again, that's another country that they don't get any news from the outside world and we don't get any news about them. But this is the same with China. China, one of the things that happened is there was this soccer World Cup, and a picture got out and was seen in the different social media in China of people in a crowd with no masks on having fun. And apparently, the Chinese people are told that they are very fortunate to have the zero COVID policy because all over the world, people are dying and suffering, and the world is collapsing. And other countries are like, it's really bad. COVID's killing everyone. And so they saw this picture of the crowd, a crowd of people together having fun, and it was shocking to them. What? The rest of the world isn't living in this, almost lockdown prison where they have to be tested every day and have these QR codes that will lock them in if they have COVID or they have a positive test. Like, it was shocking to them. And so then I saw in another video, edited video of this World Cup, where you're seeing this, the playing field and the soccer, the net. Obviously, I'm not a soccer player. I don't even have the words. And the edges where you could see the crowd are all blurred out. So this is what the Chinese government did then to show the World Cup and not show that there are crowds of people unmasked and close to each other physically together. So anyway, I mean, it is a dystopic experience on our planetary family with some of our sisters and brothers. Many, I mean, there's like a couple billion people in China, and it's probably greater or worse in different areas. But there are many giant cities, and this is what's happening there. So the frequency is rising. Even places where our sisters and brothers have been completely suppressed are now not able to manage the level of control they've historically had for a very long time. And there's actually evidence of that. And there are more and more people who are holding a frequency of such sovereignty that they're just literally like, moving on now, not playing that game. So now these are the threads that I wanted to weave in, and I want to take a moment here and just connect in to what else wants to be brought forward with this. So guidance is coming through. You are living in a time of great transition, as this channel has shared with you. And you are stepping into the remembrance of your sovereignty as divine children of the one Creator. You are stepping into a way of being that you have not known in a very, very long time. And this may, for many of you, seem strange, foreign, and yet remembered at the same time. And so we come to you as a collective of guides at this time to remind you of your true divine and sovereign nature as sovereign beings, and to continue to step forward on the path step by step through loving remembrance of your oneness with all of life and your oneness with that which you would call God, your creator, mother, father, God. That is the frequency of love, of sovereignty, of potency, of creation. And we ask you as beings of higher guidance to trust your own intuition and to walk with courage through the energies of what would seem fearful, to remember that you have great creative power. You can create through your intention. When you align your frequency with your wishes, that is how manifestation happens. And more of you around your earth, Gaia, are coming into alignment with a frequency of loving sovereignty, loving turning away from the old paradigm. So rather than fighting against it, simply saying, I lovingly choose to look elsewhere. I lovingly choose to step into the light of my own creative power as a child of the One. And we want to say that this is not the same as what you would refer to as spiritual bypass. Spiritual bypass is an energy where there is a refusal to look at the negative, at the shadow. And while there are those who are highly sensitive, and really for all of you, we would not encourage you to look at the dramas of the planet, for that is a way to get sucked into a low frequency. What we are referring to with regard to this spiritual bypass energy, rather, is a fear to look at one's own shadow material, one's own woundedness, one's own projection of their judgments of self out into the world. So there is a great difference between those who are walking and leading in the light with the courage to face their own darkness, and those who simply want to be in the light without dealing with anything of their own issues, we could say. This is the time when the light is showing the shadows in the dark corners of your world. This is the time when you get to see what has been operating and ruling your planet from the shadows. And all of that is merely the outprojection of what is within. And so this is a time for great opportunity and great challenge, for a great call for humanity to look and peer within the dark shadows to see what has been disowned within themselves. And so there are those who will be distracted by the outer dramas, never owning their own shadows, but rather looking outside and pointing the finger to all the bad guys and all the bad things. But then there will be those who are bringing the truth to light for the greater collective awakening, and doing it in a way that recognizes the oneness of all that is, and thereby looking within as well and saying, where do I need to clean up these energies within myself? And those are the ones who then have the power through their own inner work, as this one says, to rise up into a sovereign energy that literally lets them walk away. And it is in your collective capacity, and it only takes a small percentage of you, to literally heal enough within your own shadow self to integrate those pieces that have been hidden in the shadow, to love them up in frequency to a higher frequency, to literally then walk away and co-create the new earth. And that is exactly what is and will happen. That is exactly what is and will happen. Fear not a destiny that serves you not. You are not going down deeper into a planet of prison, as China illustrates in this one's presentation today. That is not where your planet is headed, full stop. And it does require a small percentage of a collection of you to be in the frequency that builds the new earth, inside yourselves first, before you are able to actually hold that light and be on your mission, whatever that mission is, whatever that project it is, whatever that creativity is, towards supporting the rebuilding, the building of a new earth. And we want to extend an invitation to each of you to also hold an energy of patience right now, of loving patience and compassion for yourselves. You are being bombarded with so much right now, whether you are observing worldly events or not. You may be spending most of your time, as this one does, wandering in forests. And still you are navigating a great deal of frequency change and upgrade. And this must not be understated or underappreciated. There is a great deal you are clearing within yourselves. And so the good news is there are many healers and helpers and messengers on this planet right now to support you. But the biggest thing you can do for yourselves right now is be patient, be compassionate, be and be courageously honest with yourselves, to look within and say, okay, if something is showing up in my field that is not in alignment with me, let me look within. Where am I a frequency match? What needs to be witnessed, forgiven, loved up into a higher frequency? There is where you will find your own surfboard to ride the waves of change without being overrun by them. And so we want to encourage you at this time to stay the course, to lovingly be patient with yourself, to know that you are on a path of ascension, and that sovereignty is your birthright as children of the one Creator. We come to you as a collective of energies in the light of Christ consciousness. We invite you to hold love and the light of the Prime Creator God as your guiding light in each day, in each breath, in the remembrance of who you are as children of the One. And we thank you. Oh, it got light while I was channeling. So there we have it. Same message, different themes, I suppose, weaving in different themes here. Let us stand in the sovereign knowing of what we are doing here. I was very encouraged by those words that, like, we're not going into a dystopic future. We're not going back into a prison planet, no matter what the globalists are having their fantasies about. It's not going to happen. And it requires, the reason it's not going to happen, the reason humanity and the light have already won, and we're walking through it now, is because enough of us wake up and just hold that powerful conviction of, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, yeah, and our sisters and brothers who are in very oppressive places on the planet, they, I want to say, and I don't want to be callous here, at a soul level, they chose to be born into that environment to learn whatever it is that they are wanting to learn at the soul level. And that doesn't make it right. That doesn't justify it. What's going on there? And again, if you choose to watch some of the video I'm going to show it, or I'm going to share about that, there's nothing like horrific, but it's just very informational on what's going on in a part of our planet. We can pray for them. We can pray for them to continue to have the courage to rise up against an example of a level of oppressive control that those of us in the West think to the Inquisition times as, some equivalent, or, Nazi Germany, that kind of thing, where the fear of the people was so great that no one spoke up. And that kind of weaves me back around to the second theme I talked about, which is these QR codes. I think at a behavioral level, at a cultural, day-to-day life, 3D level, we need to be very, very aware of this cashless society fantasy that the globalists want to subject us to, and to not play that game, to not do it. As tempting, as convenient as it is, those QR codes are a weapon I mean, at any moment, your entire bank account can be shut off if you go cashless. If the only income you have comes through digital, and a lot of us are already there. I mean, I get most of my money through digital means as well. It's not a great idea to be cashless, but some of us, as soon as this started pulling cash from our bank accounts and didn't stop. And this is not to encourage paranoia, but to recognize that we're on the transition team. And even though we know that we're not going to go back to the dark ages, we have to choose the actions in alignment with the world we want. We're creating it. We're creating it. So, yeah, so that's what I have to share. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here with me. I invite you to share a comment below, please, whether you're watching this in the private community, or I may put it on Facebook. We'll see. We'll see if it stays on Facebook. And sending you each much love and bright blessings for your walk at this time through whatever it is you're navigating, because it's not easy to be integrating this much light. We're clearing so much right now. So holding you in the light of love as well, sending you bright blessings, and we'll talk again soon. Mwah. Bye for now.